Oh, we got a Steelers fan in here.
Didn't you wear a jersey?
Yeah, I think we should kick the Steelers fan right out of here. I think, right? Just
there's a
prepare for this
Steelers fan.
conversation.
Oh,
No.
no.
There's a Steelers fan.
For Ravens fans,
Jason.
Yeah.
Am I up still? And
They both have to unmute themselves.
okay, there we go. All right, so Robert and Katelyn, first I have to do just a short commercial for another training we have tomorrow night. If you just give me a minute, then we're going to hit that. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Night Social. Good to have you all here again. This is a very exciting week. It's football week. We're in. This is going to be awesome. So talk some sports. I already can hear some of the passionate fans that are on this call. Some wearing jerseys, some already declaring their loyalties. But before we get going too deep into this, I just want to, let's see here. I gotta find where I was. So let's, I have just a quick, here we go. So slideshow from here. So tomorrow night, I just wanted to share with you that we have our first ever virtual health forum on Zoom. Starts at 7 p.m., led by Dr. Warren Kalkstein, and he is with Kalkstein Chiropractic. They're the team chiropractor for the Baltimore Orioles. This will be, there will be, after a short presentation, there'll be a live question and answer with him for any questions you may have. The Zoom is on the bottom of this slide, but it is also on an email I sent to everybody today. If you don't have that, then let me know in the chat box and I'll make sure I send it to you after this. So welcome again. That's our PSA for the evening. Tonight we're talking NFL, all things NFL, when our two guests are very knowledgeable, very excited. I've worked with RJ for a number of years now, thrilled that we get to work together again. And if he says Katelyn knows her stuff, then Katelyn knows her stuff. I feel 100% confident that we're in for a great night. So a quick bio on everybody. So recent graduate of the University of Alabama, majoring in sports journalism with a minor in communication studies. RJ Nealon has been a longtime athlete of Special Olympics Maryland. While an intern at ESPN in the summer of 2019 in the programming department in collaboration with the X Games, RJ had the opportunity to write a story for ESPN.com on Special Olympics. He aspires to be a storyteller and Special Olympics commentator for ESPN in the future. Katelyn Heffler, native of San Diego, California, is a senior at the University of Alabama. She is the host and founder of Bama Network, the first female sports talk show hosted by college students, and aspires to be the host of her own sports talk show one day. This summer, she'll be interning at Fox and Friends. So we got some knowledge in the house. I'm just going to do the best thing for all of us and stop talking and hand it over to RJ and Katelyn. This is all yours now, guys.
Welcome to the Let's Talk the NFL show with Katelyn Heffler and RJ Nealon. I hope you all are staying safe and staying healthy during these unprecedented times. How are you doing, Katelyn?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good. How are you coping with this pandemic, the COVID-19, and having to stay inside?
Yeah, well, I am now back in San Diego, living with my family. So, I had to leave school early and come back here. It's been nice to get some family time in, but it's been a lot louder around here than I'm used to since I'm with everyone again. But I'm glad to be home and glad everyone's safe here.
Before we really dig deep into the conversation, I want to ask your thoughts on the upcoming football season. Do you think there will be a football season come September?
A lot of talk has been going back and forth this entire time, but I think as we are getting closer, it seems that more positive than negative is kind of coming about during this time. Players are starting to go back earlier than I thought they would be going back. So I think that that's looking pretty positive for this football season. Whether or not there's going to be fans has not been disclosed. So I'm interested to see.
I remain optimistic about a season. It's one day at a time, 1 week at a time. But in the meantime, we did have the NFL draft and facilities are open. You having brothers that's played collegiately, what did you think of the virtual draft?
I thought it was great. I did miss the in-person and the formal draft. Actually, my twin brother and I were supposed to go to the draft in Vegas. So unfortunately, we were not able to go to that. But I really enjoyed seeing all of the players with their families in their hometown homes. I thought that was really cool. And especially with some of the coaches, they don't get a lot of time with their families during this time. So it's kind of cool to see their kids, on camera with them. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I absolutely loved watching the players in their home environment. I remember when Chase Young got picked by the Redskins, his neighborhood surrounded his house, social distancing, of course, but congratulating him and watching the coaches with their kids celebrating when they got the draft pick was really incredible.
Yeah, I agree.
Being that it was a virtual draft, we were in for some surprises. What were the biggest surprises when it came to draft selections for you?
Well, I got to go with Jalen Hurts. I was super shocked to see the Eagles pick up a quarterback since Carson Wentz's contract is until 2024. So I'm kind of interested to see, but I think that they chose him kind of for backup insurance. Jalen obviously is a very talented quarterback, but just an overall very athletic person. So who would not want this player on their team? And a lot of talk about him was saying that, he might be playing a different position, but he was asked at the combine if he would be able to do that, if he's willing to change positions. And it kind of seems like he did not want to go that route. And I would have to agree with him, of course. He is 100% a quarterback. What about you?
Yeah, I absolutely loved the Jalen Hurts pick. I'm a big Jalen Hurts guy. That was my freshman year at Alabama was Jalen Hurts' freshman year. So we came in together. So that's my quarterback. The biggest surprise for me was Henry Ruggs being the first wide receiver selected above Jerry Jeudy, who I think is hands down the best route runner in the country, and CeeDee Lamb, who can make anybody miss if he just has a foot to work with. But it shows that, speed kills. Speed kills, and it's very important to coaches, as we saw with the Las Vegas Raiders. Another selection I liked was Utah State's Jordan Love going to the Packers. A lot of people did not agree with the pick, but I loved it because Aaron Rodgers is getting up there in age, and they're thinking of the future. What are your thoughts on Tua?
So I think there's a lot of talk as well with Tua. He's been out because of injuries, but on the positive side, yeah, he has been injured, but he has shown that he is capable of getting back to it, working really hard to become one of the best quarterbacks. And I think he has a lot of potential. And I think that it is obvious that the Dolphins believe that he has the potential to really take over their team. So I think the fact that he went in the first round, and I think it just shows that a lot of people have faith in him. And I have faith in him as well.
Yeah, I was not surprised he was selected by the Miami Dolphins. For me, I would not have touched Tua. He has not shown that he can go a full season, being healthy and staying uninjured. So I would not have picked him, but I understand why the Dolphins did pick him. All around, I think he is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the draft, besides Joe Burrow, who went number one overall to the Cincinnati Bengals. But I think he'll have a long and healthy career.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I think that I would have definitely chosen Jalen over Tua. But I think despite his injuries, I mean, even with his injuries, he's just proven that he's going to be able to come back. And I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Speaking about the quarterback position and how we were surprised with Tua and Jalen, what are your thoughts on the New England Patriots selecting Kyle Duggar from Illinois Vine, not really going after a quarterback. Tom Brady's now in Tampa Bay. Do you think Jarrett Stidham is the right guy to replace him?
You know, there's so much talk about Stidham, and I think it's obvious to say that no one's going to be able to fulfill and fill those Tom Brady shoes for a very long time. I do think that a lot of people overlook Stidham, though. I mean, he hasn't gotten a lot of playing time. So I think that, I mean, the Patriots like those players that are in the fourth and past rounds. So I think that he has potential. I think that we just haven't really seen enough of him yet, but I definitely do have faith in him. Are you muted?
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry about that. What you were saying, I was surprised with New England going with Kyle Duggar, and I was surprised that they did not pick up a quarterback in the earlier rounds. Jarrett Stidham is a very good quarterback. I don't think he's the right person for the job to take over Tom Brady. But he has a wide receivers. He has undrafted Jeff Thomas coming out of Miami. So he has a skill. So we'll see how he ends up doing in the future years. Are you muted?
I don't think so, no.
No, you're not.
So really, what are your thoughts on Jeff Thomas?
Well, I know there's a lot of controversy about him off the field, but he was undrafted, and I think that he does have the potential to make the Patriots roster. He's quick and he has talent. So I think, reasons for him being undrafted are kind of off the field. But I do think that he'll be able to make the roster. What about you?
Yeah, I think he does have a past of getting in trouble, both in high school and college, academically in college, but his skill set really stands out. And if anyone knows what they're doing, it's Bill Belichick and the coaching staff up there. So they're going to give him a shot. And if he's as good as everyone says he is, then he'll do very well. We have a lot of viewers that are Baltimore Ravens and Washington Redskins fans. Ohio State's teammates, Chase Young was drafted by the Redskins and J.K. Dobbins was drafted by the Ravens. I absolutely love these picks. Chase Young, I believe, is the second best player in the country behind Clemson's Isaiah Simmons. He's fast, he's big, and fun fact for all you locals in Maryland, he is from Prince George's County, and he is the first DeMatha Catholic player to be selected in the first round. So I think that's pretty cool, knowing that he comes from the state of Maryland. When it comes to J.K. Dobbins, I think he's one of the most talented players in the country. He's got great vision, got speed, and he adds a lot to that Ravens offense. What are your thoughts on Chase Young?
Well, going back to Chase Young, I mean, he's got the size, he's got speed, he's got quickness, and he's predicted to be Rookie of the Year. So, I mean, I think that says a lot about him. I think he plays a very vital position, and he's going to be great on any team.
Do you think he'll be an immediate starter, or do you think he'll sit the bench and learn and maybe take over halfway through the season?
I mean, I would start him, so I think he should definitely start. What about you?
Yeah, I think he'll be an immediate starter. Two other players I really, really love is Thaddeus Moss, who is Randy Moss's son, and Patrick Queen, both from LSU, going to the Patrick Queen to the Ravens, Thaddeus Moss to the Redskins. I love these picks. Thaddeus Moss went undrafted. I think he should have been drafted. But what are your thoughts on watching the LSU players when they played Alabama?
Well, I mean, they beat us. They put up a great fight. And just they beat us just by a few points, but obviously they were the better team. And I think it's going to be interesting, though, to kind of see how they play this year. I think that Coach O is just an outstanding coach, and he really developed this past team. So I don't know if they're going to have the same kind of team this year, but we'll have to see about that.
Yeah, I don't think you can ever go wrong selecting an LSU player. All draft-eligible players are on an NFL roster right now. So that shows you how good they truly are. I think both teams have a lot of work to do before they contend for a Super Bowl, but I think they are going in the right direction. The Redskins need to allow Dwayne Haskins to develop. I like Dwayne Haskins, who's a former teammate of Chase Young. And I think the Ravens, adding the offensive weapons, Lamar Jackson's still behind center. I think they are getting closer to a Super Bowl, but as long as Derrick Henry is with the Tennessee Titans, I think it's going to be pretty tough for the Ravens to get past. What are your thoughts on, what team do you think is going to be a Super Bowl contender if it's not the Ravens or the Redskins?
Oh, gosh, that's hard. Well, as a Patriots fan, I would love for the Patriots to see the Super Bowl, but I don't really know if I see that happening. I got to go with the Bucks. I think they have some great new additions to the team. I'm kind of excited to see how they do. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting season, but also just with the coronavirus and how it's affecting the entire sports world, I think that's also going to kind of be a factor in how the teams play. So it's going to be an interesting year, and I think all sports.
Yeah. So we saw, in the draft, Tampa Bay's got some pretty good players, but the one player that really stuck out to me that was not drafted, he came out of retirement, Rob Gronkowski. Yes. Do you think with him playing tight end with Tom Brady, they have an even better shot at making the Super Bowl because they do play well together?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's why I said, I see the Bucks making it to the Super Bowl because, I mean, yes, Tom Brady is a great quarterback, obviously, and I'm clearly a fan of him, but I think adding Gronkowski, how can, that's just going to be more likely for them to find success on the field.
Were you surprised that they did not trade O.J. Howard?
No, I don't yes and no. But all I can say is it's going to be an interesting year.
Yeah, I agree. We saw one of the most talented NFL draft classes in history, and next year has a potential to be even more talented. One player that sticks out to me is Trevor Lawrence. Who's a player for you that sticks out?
I would have to agree with Trevor Lawrence as well. I think that if anyone, or I'd say most people, could just make a quarterback, they would choose Trevor Lawrence. I mean, his body type, he's huge. He just has a great arm. He didn't have the best year, though, this year because all the teams had film on him. So I think that he'll do better this year and will kind of readjust. But I think right now he is ready for the NFL.
His freshman year, he really torched Alabama's defense. However, a year later against LSU, he was making the same type of throws, but the defensive backs were capitalizing on it and really not helping the wide receivers that well. What are your thoughts on him growing in that season to this season?
He's a great player. He improves each year. I think it was hard to it's kind of hard to judge him as a player from last year because he, like I said, he didn't have the best season because all the teams had film on him. So I'm just going to base everything off of this upcoming year and how he adjusts to that.
Do you see, with these future players, I think that a lot of players, if there is no season, a lot of players may sit out. Like Trevor Lawrence, I think he is NFL ready. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I think he needs another year of actual playing time, even though he is NFL ready.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say, in my opinion, I really don't think that – I do think there's going to be a season. If that did happen, though, it's going to be kind of hard to say what players would choose to do. I think Trevor Lawrence, if there wasn't a season, would choose to sit out. He wouldn't come back because obviously I think, like I said, he's ready right now. But I think another season would help him just all around, especially after last season.
Yeah, I remember when he beat Alabama in the national championship, he specifically said he wanted to play all 4 years, that education is very important to him. I don't see it happening, especially if he wins another national championship or makes a college football playoff. What are your thoughts? Because I think about this a lot. If the season starts in January and the draft is in April, would that affect the players sitting out?
Well, hopefully that does not happen because that would just really confuse a lot of people, but also just the system in general. That would definitely affect whether or not players choose to play in the season, especially because of injuries or, that's just a lot of burnout too, like not getting a break before the combine. So I'm not really sure how that would really play out. That's like a really tricky question.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to if there's a season, what protocols they put in place and to keep the players healthy. If there's students in the stands or the whole stadium full, I think it all depends on a lot of things. Like I said earlier, I'm taking it day by day, remaining optimistic that there will be a full football season.
Looking pretty positive though right now with the players being cleared, a lot of the players being cleared to go back this summer. I was shocked by that. I really didn't think that was going to happen, at least so soon. But I think it's looking positive. Yeah,
and a lot of states are saying that they're welcoming all pro sports teams to play in their state. So if they can figure something out to have a games at one location, which is really hard to do, but the NBA is trying to do it at the ESPN Wide World of Sports. What are your thoughts, with the NFL season coming up and the NCAA exploring options? How do you think it affects the schools? Will we see a lot of players transfer, say like draft eligible players from Michigan, if they don't have a season? Do you think they'll transfer to other schools?
I was actually just talking about this the other day because being from San Diego, we have San Diego State saying they're already not going to go back to in-person classes. But then we have a school right across the street, University of San Diego, that is going back. And so what about, USC, what's going to happen with all of the California schools? I think that if I were a player and I was going to San Diego State and they said we are not coming back to in-person classes, and then I would say that looks kind of rough for the football players. And I would think to transfer. I think a lot of factors go into it though, and so I hate to look too far in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Another player that I really like is Pittsburgh's defensive back Paris Ford. I think he's a really underrated player, like we were talking about earlier with Jalen Hurts. He plays for Pittsburgh. He's a potential All-American this upcoming season. He's up for the Jim Thorpe Award, which is an award for the best defensive back in the country. Who's your one player, if you could pick one, from, let's say, a school that does not get a lot of notoriety to make an impact and go in the first or second round of next year's draft?
Gosh, that's a really hard question. I have to think about that one, but I have a question for you. So going back to Jalen getting drafted by the Eagles, you and I sometimes talk on the side about this situation, and I think that we have different ideas about Jalen and Carson Wentz. So I'd like to hear if your opinion has changed since we've talked or not.
Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts I think he's going to be the starting quarterback, regardless. Regardless, I think he's going to be the starting quarterback, whether it's right off the bat or halfway through the season or Carson Wentz gets hurt. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't touch Tua. I've always been a Jalen guy. His game may not always be pretty, but he is a competitor. He knows how to win, and he's tough. So I think he will get the starting job, and I think he will be the Eagles' next quarterback. And if anyone's going to lead them to win, it's going to be Jalen Hurts, not Carson Wentz.
See, I think that choosing Jalen has given Wentz even a bigger chance to really come back and prove the haters wrong and the doubters wrong. I think that he also gets overlooked by, I mean, I know that he has gotten injured, but I think that he's a very, very capable quarterback and he's very talented. I'm just interested to see, you know, like how he will do this season with the pressure of a great player, Jalen Hurts, right behind him, ready to go in. So I'm interested to see.
Yeah, I think he'll handle the competition perfectly well. Carson Wentz played at North Dakota State, which is a dynasty in itself at the FCS level. They're what Alabama is at the FBS level, but at the FCS level. So he's played with the best players in the country in college. Then he's gone to the NFL, and unfortunately, he's had some injury battles. But I don't think that takes away from his competitive drive. I think the Eagles, you know, part of it may be that the Eagles brought Jalen in because, one, he was still on the board, and two, it's a motivating factor for Carson Wentz to play even harder. So we'll see. I still think Jalen's a bigger competitor, so I think he will get the starting job.
Do you think Tua's going to go in at all this season, if there is a season?
You know, I'd like him to start, but I'd also like the idea of him sitting and really becoming 100% healthy. We know he said he's 100% healthy right now, but he has not been hit yet.
Right.
And he hasn't really been in team practices yet. So who's to know that if he gets hit, like, he's done? Because of his injury, he can't turn the hit a certain way, so that may affect him. I'd like to see him sit the bench and really learn behind Ryan Fitzgerald. That's a quarterback, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd really like for him to sit the bench and learn, and then take over maybe 2 years down the road, kind of like Jameis Winston's doing behind Drew Brees.
Do you think that Tua is going to be do you think his prime time was in college, or do you think that's yet to come in the NFL?
That's a really good question. We've seen what he can do at the college level when he's 100% healthy, and I think he's going to do the same at the NFL level. It's just a matter of, can he remain healthy or not? I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to. That's the only question everyone has.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough because when I think of Tua, I mean, obviously Tua has not played yet in the NFL, but I think that he's brought so many Alabama fans to the Miami Dolphins. Now they're all Miami Dolphin fans to follow him because of the person he is on and off the field. And I am curious to see if he is going to live up to everyone's expectations. I think that he has the perseverance and the determination to do that and to continue to get better, because he has obviously taken his injuries super seriously and, you know, trained a lot and rehabbed a lot to get back to being drafted in the first round. Like, that's amazing already, especially after last season. So I'm interested to see if he will live up to everyone's expectations.
Yeah, you know, it's really hard to be a rookie quarterback in the NFL. It's really hard. These players come in to a new team, and if you're a player like Tua, you get drafted to a team that's not very good yet, that's still rebuilding, and that can be really hard on a player with the pressure and really getting those players around you to contribute to win. I think it'll be a couple years. I do think Tua is going to have a good career. I would not be surprised if he's not in Miami after his rookie contract is up. I still have so many unanswered questions about Tua right now.
Who are you looking forward to most watching in the NFL this year?
In the NFL, it's definitely Jerry Jeudy, and I really hope Jordan Love gets to play at least a little bit. He's not going to be a starter behind Aaron Rodgers, but I'm really intrigued by Jordan Love. I really like Jordan Love. Another player is Chase Young. I mean, he's just an incredible talent.
Do you think he'll start? Do you think he'll start?
Yes, I do. Chase Young, I think he'll start. I'd also love to see Henry Ruggs. I just want to see that speed again. He's one of my favorite collegiate players, and I really want him to prove to everybody that he was indeed, the number one wide receiver pick. A lot of people have their doubts.
With Henry Ruggs, Jeudy, and CeeDee Lamb, you would go with Ruggs, or who would you go with?
If it was a strictly business decision, I would go Jerry Jeudy. I would. He's the best route runner, and between him and CeeDee Lamb, I think it's a personal preference on who's better. Individually, talent-wise, I love Henry Ruggs' style. You give him the ball, and he makes it to the secondary, he's gone. You're not catching him.
Yeah.
You're just not catching him, and he's proven that over and over again.
My brothers and I have disagreed about this topic since the draft, and we continue to do it pretty often. But yeah, like I agree with you about Jeudy. I would personally choose Jeudy. Some of my brothers are saying CeeDee Lamb, and then some are saying Jeudy. So it's interesting, but like, how can you go wrong with any of these players? They all have speed and they all have talent. I think that it's a lot harder to get faster than to improve your dynamic skills. But I mean, that's hard to say. I don't think you could go.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, Henry Ruggs, I think, is obviously the fastest wide receiver in the draft. Jerry Jeudy is the best route runner in the country. And CeeDee Lamb, you give him the ball and he'll make people miss. For example, in the Texas game, he made 6 or 7 Longhorns miss him when they had chances to tackle him. So I think it's just a question of, what does your team need? Does your team need speed, route running, player to make plays in space? I think it all comes down to a personal preference.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I mean, like I said, like I would want any of them on my team. So they're all great players for sure.
Another player that's really up and coming is Devante Smith of Alabama. A lot of people think, he was Tua's go-to guy and Mac Jones's go-to guy. He obviously was in the national championship in 2018. And a lot of people think he could have left and been drafted. What are your thoughts on Devante Smith and what he's going to do for the Alabama Crimson Tide this year?
I mean, he's vital to our team, I think, and I'm excited to see more of him. I don't know if it's hard to say, but my opinion is that I don't think he's ready for the NFL just yet. I think this is going to be his season. I think it's like that for a lot of the players, but especially him. I just want to see more of him, and especially how he works with Mac Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about players that should have went back to college, I think Theodis Moss should have went back to college, but he was good enough to go. Another player that I'm really excited to see where he'll end up in the NFL is Ohio State's Justin Fields.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I honestly don't know too much about him, but if you want to tell me why. I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
Educate.
You know, I think Justin Fields was the right quarterback for Georgia. I think he's better than Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm got drafted late in the draft to the Buffalo Bills, which I think is I don't agree with the pick. I don't think Buffalo is the right team for him. But Justin Fields, I think, is going to have a phenomenal career. And right now, I have Trevor Lawrence going number 1, and I have Justin Fields going number 2, quarterback-wise. But I wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State is as good as everyone thinks they will be if he jumps Lawrence for the number 1 overall pick next year.
I think Trevor Lawrence is going to just be phenomenal in the NFL. I think that he is going to improve even more. And I think he's going to be bigger than we know. Especially I'm excited to see Joe Burrow, and he has become one of my favorite players. I'm really excited to see what he's going to do in the NFL. But I'm also with Mac Jones. Mac Jones hasn't played a lot. What if he is the next Joe Burrow? What if he just has this phenomenal season? Do you think that's a possibility at all?
Oh, I think it is. I remember telling my dad when Mac Jones came in as a freshman, he's going to start for Alabama one day.
Wow.
I just like Mac Jones. He went to Bowles High School down in Jacksonville, Florida. Very, very good school for athletics. He came in, he competed. He knew he was going to sit the bench, and he stuck it out. He could have transferred. He could be a starter at any other SEC school right now. Maybe not Georgia or LSU, but any of the other SEC schools, he could be a starter. So I think he'll start. Bryce Young, who is a number 1 overall player or number 1 overall quarterback in the country, I think he'll be a future NFL draft pick one day. But he's not ready to start yet. Mac Jones is going to get the nod.
Do you think that Mac Jones will go to the NFL?
Yeah, he'll get a shot. He'll get a shot. A great example of that is Cardell Jones of Ohio State. Years ago when they beat Alabama in the semifinal and won the first ever college football playoff, he had started only a handful of games. And he went to the NFL. He did not pan out. He ended up playing in other leagues. But Mac Jones is definitely going to get a chance in the NFL. He may not get drafted, depending on how well he performs this year. But he'll get a shot, kind of like Blake Sims of Alabama a few years ago.
Well, did you ever think that Joe Burrow was going to become, the player that he is today?
No, I didn't. And that's a great point to make is it's all about the system you're in as a quarterback. At Ohio State, he was with some talented quarterbacks, and he would not have gotten to play. And so he transferred, and LSU gave him that shot and worked his butt off. And he just had one of the most incredible collegiate years ever. And now he's the number 1 overall pick. So it's all about the system. I think the reason Jalen Hurts went in the second round is because he transferred to Oklahoma. That was a system he should have been in to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, Joe Burrow has become one of my favorite players because of how he has transformed. He didn't start off as the best. He literally worked his way up and then got drafted. And I'm just excited to see. I think he's also going to kind of be working his way up as well. Or he says he's ready to play and he's ready to compete this season. So, that's the kind of player that I like to watch and I like to be a fan of. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw one of the comments in the chat below talking about Tua's little brother. He transferred to Maryland. A lot of people think he's going to be better than Tua one day. And I think he'll get a shot at the NFL either way. But what are your thoughts on him?
Were you shocked by his transfer to Maryland?
I was not, because of Mike Loxley. He's the one. Mike Loxley is the coach that offered him the scholarship to Alabama to begin with. So he's going to the guy that believed in him.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I think that, it must be hard going to the same school as your brother, who is Tua, and trying to get some playing time and kind of fill his position. So I think it's great that he's taking his own path, because I think going this route will really give him just the training he needs and the time he needs to develop as just by himself. I think it's really hard to kind of shadow your brother. That must be, I can't imagine. But I think that I haven't seen enough of him, so it's kind of hard for me to judge how he will continue to do. But I think this is a great step for him, and it's going to take a lot of time for him, I think, to develop into his own, style. But I think it's a great move.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll always be remembered in the state of Alabama for his high school career. One of the best high school quarterbacks to come out of Alabama in just a 2-year span. But like you said, it's very hard to live in your brother's shadow. It's even harder when your brother is Tua Tagovailoa.
I think a lot of Alabama fans, though, are really supportive of this decision. Would you agree?
Yeah, a lot of fans and even coaches agree with the move. He could have stuck it out and maybe started his final year like Mac Jones. He said he did want to compete for the job. A big issue, a big component to him transferring to Maryland was COVID-19. His father said, he wanted to battle for the starting position, but because there was no spring ball, no spring game, and no telling when fall camp's going to start, he would not have that opportunity to compete with Mac Jones and Bryce Young.
Oh, wow. Well, I think it was a smart decision for sure for him, and it's in his best interest. Yeah,
and another fun fact for all the Marylanders out there, Maryland has the number one wide receiver, Rakeem Jarrett from St. John's. He decommitted from LSU and committed to Maryland. So Tua's little brother Talia has him to work with. So I think he'll be a nice addition with 3 years of eligibility left. But we'll see what the Terps do if they win more than 3 games in a season.
Yeah.
Jason, do you want to chime in?
Well, not from a football standpoint, but I'll chime in to get some questions if you want.
Yeah, that's. I saw the questions you.
Yeah, so I think I'll go. Ben, you're ready to help me out here?
Yeah, I think we talked a lot about the questions that were in the email, but
yep.
one of the.
So I have an interesting one from Thomas Smith. Can you, Ben? Can you find Thomas for me? Hey, Thomas, are you ready with your question?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, sir.
The Jets. The Jets signed Joe Flacco
And 9
other Ravens, former Ravens.
What does that mean for their chances this year? What does it mean?
What does it mean
for their
chances for this year?
The Jets.
For the Jets.
Yeah, I think the Jets have a long way to go before they contend for a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco is a great quarterback. He's proven that at Baltimore. But, I think a big part of it is the Jets defense. Jamal Adams, who played for LSU, wants to be traded to the Cowboys. He's a big, asset. So we'll see. They do have a lot of Raven players, and I think it's a step in the right direction, but they're still a couple years away from contending for a Super Bowl.
Good. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Caitlin, do you have anything to add about Joe Flacco?
No, that was great. You covered it.
So Elena had an interesting question, not team specific, but around scheduling. Do you guys feel like you want to take a swing at this one, or I'll let her ask her. And go ahead, Elena.
Yeah. So how do I'm not sure if it's the coaches or the owners of the teams, how do they schedule a team schedule, and if which teams they'll play at home and which teams they play away?
Maybe Katelyn knows that. I think it's all based on the internal aspects of the teams in the league and the Players Association on how they schedule. Katelyn's more knowledgeable with the NFL than I am. Maybe she knows, but I think it's more internal.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. It is more internal. I do know the Patriots, though, do play in California, if I'm not mistaken, back-to-back weekends. So it might just also be coordinating what's best and most convenient, like, for the teams. But, yeah, I'm not positive either.
Thank you.
And David, and maybe Katelyn, you and RJ answered this one, but this one's from David Godoy. Which team has in the NFL had the best offseason based on those teams that did not make the playoffs?
The best offseason, like with the NFL draft?
Yeah, with the draft or trades, or who have set themselves up for a better year?
I believe it's the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a fan of the Cowboys. They got some really good players. The biggest one, I think, is Trayvon Diggs, who is also a Marylander. He's from Gaithersburg, Maryland, played at the Avalon High School. His brother is Stephon Diggs. I think he is a great defensive back. I think he's going to add a lot to the Cowboys. I'll let Katelyn say who she thinks.
All right, well, being from San Diego and, having the Chargers now, the Los Angeles Chargers, I still am kind of also a fan of them as well. I think that Justin Herbert has been a great addition to the LA Chargers. So, in my opinion, I think that they are really going to start seeing kind of more momentum and just a better season, hopefully, this year.
Do you think Justin Herbert should have been drafted sooner than he was?
That's hard to say. I know there's a lot of other opinions out there, and I honestly was shocked that the LA Chargers picked Herbert up. I thought they were going to get Tua. But, yeah, I think that he should have been, in my opinion, drafted a little bit earlier. What about you?
You don't think they should have maybe picked Cam Newton, who's still a free agent, as more reliability because he's proven in the NFL. Justin Herbert, he has had a lot of games at Oregon where he could not pull off the win in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's true, but don't you think that overall Justin Herbert is a great player?
Absolutely, 100%. He is.
It's hard to say. I think that he was a great pick for the LA Chargers. I think they needed someone like him, so I think that was great.
100%.
All right, Tyler, I know you've been pretty active on the chat. Tyler Kirsch, you got to unmute yourself, sir. But I know you had one or two questions. If you just give us one of those, that'd be great.
Whoops.
Yeah, you're on.
What is the best chances for the Baltimore Ravens to win a Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, I think they do have a shot with Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins. I do think they're going to have a hard time getting past the Tennessee Titans and Derrick Henry. But I wrote an article about this maybe 5 months ago. Give Lamar Jackson 3 years in the league, and he'll start competing. And by his 5th or 6th year, he'll be playing for a Super Bowl.
I think
Okay.
so. I think with their schedule, though, they have a likely chance of coming close or making the Super Bowl.
Me too. See, they build onto their defense, and I love Patrick McQueen, his skills from LSU, and Ray Lewis is a big linebacker, and he's just a big leader into that leadership in there for the defense. So that's why I picked them to win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. Patrick Queen is a really solid linebacker. A lot of people have compared him to Ray Lewis, but it is very hard to be a successful rookie leader, especially on defense. It's very hard. I think he'll have a long and successful career, and I think he will add a lot of depth to that Ravens defense. It's going to be a very scary defense.
All right, great. Thank you. Bailey, going down I-95 down to the Redskins. I know you had a question, so.
Well, I got 3 questions.
You got to pick one. Just got to pick
Number
one.
1, what are the top 3 teams in each conference that could be headed for the Super Bowl this year?
Looking for the top 3 teams from each conference to make the Super Bowl.
Oh, Katelyn, I'll let you answer that one.
That's a loaded question. In each conference, I am not 100% sure. Can we do top 3 teams to make it in the Super Bowl in general?
We can do that.
Do you have, or RJ, do you have any ideas?
I think the Chiefs, obviously, I think the Chiefs are going to end up back there. I wouldn't be surprised if they win again.
Yeah.
A sleeper team, I mean, as much as I don't think they will, you just cannot count them out, is Tampa Bay. I mean, you can't count out Tom Brady. But a big thing of that is this year I think we're going to see, and if Tom Brady plays the second year, was it Brady or was it Belichick? I think that's a big topic of discussion. Was it Brady or was it Belichick? Or was it both of them? I do think Tampa Bay is going to make a run at the Super Bowl. I don't think they win it, though. But I think they will be competitive.
I got to disagree. Okay, I agree with you with the Chiefs. I think, yes, the Chiefs will have a likely chance. I also, though, think the Rams. I think the Saints. And I do think the Patriots still have a shot. I think that the Patriots like to come back and surprise people. So I still have hope.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't – even though Tom Brady is not in New England anymore, you can't count out Bill Belichick. You just can't.
Great. All right. Thank you. Sam Livingston, I know you've been very active with some questions. Do you want to go
Before
ahead?
I forget, I have to do it for everybody. Roll Tide. I have to. I'm an Alabama fan. So my question actually is an interesting one. I've been reading recently that there's rumors Antonio Brown could very much go to the Ravens. I want to hear you guys' opinions on that. And if so, who do you guys think would be the best team for him?
I'm going to let Katelyn answer this one first, since the Patriots were the last team to have Antonio Brown.
Well, there has been a lot of talk about Antonio Brown and whether or not teams are going to pick him up or not, and, you know, whether or not they're going to give him a shot. I heard that, you know, he was going to go with Tom Brady to the Bucs, but that has yet to happen. So I feel like it's really going to depend on, like, someone like Tom Brady or a player that is going to be able to guide him and literally, like, help him through it and, like, be there for him. So it's really hard to say, because I think he's more of a risk than, you know, a gift to the team.
Yeah, because they already have Mike Evans, right? Mike Evans is the #1 receiver for them no matter what.
I don't think he's going to go to the Patriots after Tom Brady left, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I have to agree. Right now, it's Antonio Brown is a liability. There's no doubt he's one of the best wide receivers in the league, but it's all his off the field actions that really put the question mark if the NFL is going to allow him to play again.
All right, that's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Sam. All right, great. And I think someone else has been active. Joe Will. If Ben can find you and unmute you, I think you had some questions or a question, and then we'll go to Danielle Marino after that. So let's find.
Gotta unmute yourself, bud.
Okay. My question is about the NFC West. Obviously, you had the 49ers in the Super Bowl. But I was thinking, like, how do you guys feel like about the chances for the LA Rams, like maybe bouncing back and taking hold of that division again?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for jumping on. For those of you who don't know, me and Joe went to Alabama together, so I know him from class. I think the Rams do have a legitimate shot at making it back to the Super Bowl. You know, if they do, I hope they at least be competitive. But I'll let Katelyn chime in because she probably has more knowledge of the West Coast teams.
Well, yeah, like I said, I kind of am thinking that the Rams may be a Super Bowl team this year, at least a competitor. So we'll have to see. But honestly, I'm hoping for more of like an LA Chargers takeover on the West. So we'll have to see. I do have faith, though, in the Rams.
All right, Danielle Marino.
I'm here. All right. I love the Steelers.
Yeah. Do you have a question though?
Yeah. I was saying that because last year the Steelers lost 2 games against the Ravens. I'm not happy with that. But
all right, so,
I don't really like it. That's
all right. Thank you, Danielle.
But it's no big deal.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, so then we're coming up on the hour. So I just want
a question if you have time.
Sorry, Ben?
Josh Smith has a question if you have time.
All right, yeah, we do have time. Josh Smith, go ahead.
So this is for Katelyn. This is an important thing. I know Antonio Brown might not go to Tampa Bay because, number one reason why, because Antonio Brown had a nephew play for the Ravens. Because those two might be that because I work about Tennessee. That's one thing. Let me go past them because we have Antonio Brown and Herbert Brown, nephew and uncle. You didn't know that, Katelyn?
Yes, it's a little bit hard to hear you, but I heard you said that you don't think Antonio Brown will go to Tampa Bay. I agree with you. I don't think it would be the best decision for him to go there. I don't think it'll happen, but I think it's going to take a player like Tom Brady that's really going to mend him back into the player that he needs to be. So I don't think he'll go to the Bucs, but he needs someone like Tom Brady for assistance.
Yeah, and Antonio Brown is that type of player that, talent-wise, he can play on any team in the league. But it's the fact that he needs a mentor, and not all teams have those type of players like Tom Brady. I think that's what it really comes down to. Which team is going to take him and which player is going to take him under their wing and mentor him.
I agree.
Okay. All right, so Anu, you will have the second to last question. Ben, can you unmute Anu?
You gotta do yourself, bud.
Yeah, here's my question. If you have a favorite NFC team, what will it be?
Katelyn?
Gosh. That's a hard one. I know yours is the Cowboys, right?
Absolutely. That's even if it was, no matter what side of the conference divisions, like Cowboys are the only team I root for. I won't root for anyone else. I'll root for the Alabama boys, but the Dallas Cowboys, that's the only team I root for.
So I would have to say that my NFC team would be the Eagles this year because I really am just excited about Jalen Hurts. I think that he is going to. Well, I'm just interested to see Wentz and him compete. I hope for the best with Wentz, but I'm excited to see Jalen at least put some pressure on Wentz.
Great. All right. So we're good. So we are up on the hour. I don't want to take you too far over, but just one last question. We've talked about whether there'll be fans in the stands and what is the one biggest change you see if the game comes back that would last? Whether it's fans or whether it's how the players approach the game or training.
I think it's the testing and what they do about that. Do they quarantine the players when they're not playing? Do they test them once a day, twice a day? And we're seeing this a great deal in the KBO, the Korea Baseball Organization, and leagues in the United States have been taking what they're doing over there and implementing it for the sports over here. I hope by September, they don't have to go through all these health and safety matters, but I think it's only time will tell on what they do.
For me, I think that it's mainly going to be about the training. I mean, we've already seen how players are not able to work out together, and I think that definitely affects the chemistry and the dynamics of the team and how well they are able to work together. But I think also, like, basically all of the colleges have these incredible training facilities, and a lot of players don't have access to that. So how is that going to affect them in the season if they are doing a different type of training or they're training in a different type of atmosphere? I think also it would be a bummer for fans to not be able to be in the stadium. But I think that's more just about the fans. I think honestly players wouldn't mind, I think some of them enjoy the fans, but a lot of them are too busy focused on the game that, they're not really worried about the outside factors. But I think it mainly has to do with the training facilities and how they're training. And we're really going to see who has been training and based on their raw talent.
Yeah, that's one topic I have thought a lot about. So on average, there may be anywhere from 60 to 90,000 fans in the stadium. Majority of fans watch the games on the TV anyways.
Yeah.
So I think, that won't play a factor too much. I think it would be the fan experience. Actually watching the game on TV with no fans in the stadium, it'll be a weird feeling.
Yep, good answers. So RJ and Katelyn, really appreciate you guys coming on tonight and helping us talk some NFL. I know a lot of people have been missing it, missing talking about their own teams. And just it's nice to have kind of a taste of it before who knows what's going to happen. So again, thank you both for your time and your preparation. We really appreciate that and really appreciate sharing your talents and insight with us. Generally what we do at the end of this is we kind of what we call the long goodbye. You're welcome to stick around, but we open it up not necessarily for questions, but just so everyone has kind of a social component to it before we leave. So the last words go to you before I open it up and unmute it. So
Awesome. Well, first, thank you so much to Katelyn for agreeing to come on. I met her about a year ago at Alabama. She reached out to me asking me
Sorry, RJ.
It's fine. It's good. It's all good. We're all learning now with COVID-19. We're all learning how to do things online, so it's all good. I met what I was saying is I met Katelyn about a year ago at the University of Alabama. She reached out to me about an internship and getting information. She's one of the most talented young stars in the industry, and I'm just thankful she agreed to come on and share this time with you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really glad that I got to be a part of it. And thank you, RJ. He is my mentor, and he's been mentoring me for almost a year now. And I just really, really appreciate every opportunity. And just talking football again, during this time, it's nice to just talk about things that are normal. So, yeah.
Yeah, it really feels nice talking sports because right now I'm really missing live sports. I'm waking up at 4:30 every morning to watch Korean baseball. That's what it's come to.
Well, at least you get a taste, right? That's important stuff. So, all right, great, thank you. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. Ben, you can unmute everybody as we can say thank you and the long goodbye to Katelyn and RJ. So, all right. So.
Thank you, Katelyn and RJ, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
William.
Thank you.
Nathan.
Thank you. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Katelyn, I want to say thank you for all you do. Your best.
Yeah.
I don't think they're taking no more questions.
You did a good job, both of
They're
you.
gone, Bailey.
Yeah, we did. Hey, dear Jason.
Right.
Jason.
Yes, sir.
Did you send us that email?
Yeah, no, they already left.
Which one?
Yeah.
The one about Zoom that you showed at the very
girl.
beginning?
She left.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Katie.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did send it out.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for your questions, getting them in advance. Appreciate your time.
Can't wait for tomorrow.
Yeah, should be a good one.
Okay. Bye. Good night.
Good night.